2020 most powerful military forces in Europe. A few simple ground rules. All military forces will be counted only, no paramilitary forces, because each country has a different way of training and treating their paramilitary forces. Level of training experience is factored in. Remember, these are just my thoughts. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. No equipment in deep storage is counted. Combat support brigades themselves, it's a military it's a military term, but I include combat air brigades, field artillery brigades, ADA, and anti-tank brigades all into one. Enabler brigades. Once again, this is a military term. I include logistics, engineers, things like ISR, electronic warfare, medical, military police, NBC, those type of things. These guys directly support combat maneuver brigades, and they support combat support brigades. So that's why I'm labeling them as enablers. They enable those are other type of units that actually function. So let's get started with the top 10 military forces in Europe. Coming in at number 10 is Ukraine. The forces, the last few years have been a little bit of an eye-opener for them. On paper, they have a lot of equipment. They had a whole lot of military readiness and training issues. They've improved dramatically. Still not the best trained. Still a lot of paramilitary type forces. But with the conflict in eastern Ukraine, it's actually made not only their military realize its shortcomings, but also the political government and the people themselves. They've poured a lot of resources into bringing their forces up to standard and basically bringing their equipment up to standard, because they have a lot of good equipment, but because just neglect, they've really stepped up. Let's get started. They have an active force of 209,000 soldiers, reserve of 900,000, which they've been rotating those guys in through eastern Ukraine through the conflict there. The ground forces are broke up into 4 regional headquarters, which consist of 7 armored brigades, 13 mechanized infantry brigades, 5 infantry brigades, 2 marine brigades, 1 airborne brigade, and 4 air mobile brigades. Those actual air forces, they use those guys a lot, for a total of 25 combat maneuver brigades. They have a total of 19 combat support brigades broken up into 5 artillery, 1 surface-to-surface missile brigade, 3 multiple rocket launch brigades, 10 ADA brigades. A lot of these forces on paper exist, and they have forces, but they're not completely up to full strength. They have a total of 13 enabler brigades, which consist of 3 logistics, 3 aviations, 1 engineer, 1 electronic warfare, 1 CBRN, which is chemical, biological, radiology, and nuclear. 4 signal brigades. They have a total of 65 modern tanks, 100 capable tanks, 720 port tanks, and storage for a grand total of 850 tanks. In storage, they have about 1,200 tanks. Now, when I say their equipment numbers, take those with a grain of salt, because they still technically have lost some equipment. So mind you, these are all estimates. They have almost 1,700 infantry fighting vehicles, another 315 APC, for a total of 209 armored vehicles. They have a total of almost 1,600 indirect fire systems, 560 some self-propelled artillery, 500 almost 70 total artillery, another almost 350 multiple rocket launch systems, and 900 surface-to-surface missile launchers. They have a total of 390, almost 400 ADA systems, of which most of them, 300 and almost 30, are SAMs systems. I do not count shoulder-fired SAM systems. These are actually either towed or mobile SAM systems. Same thing with the guns. They have a total of 70 ADA guns. They have 35 attack helicopters, mostly Mi-24s, 54 transport helicopters. They have to be. I only count medium and heavy transportation helicopters. Light, I don't count. The air fleet consists of 71 total fighters, of which All 71 are capable. Like I said, they have good equipment, but the training, which they've improved, still needs some work. They have a total of 54 ground attack made up of Su-24s and 25s. They got 3 ISR planes, 6 transportation planes, and 14 command and communications helicopters. The naval forces are minor. They only have 1 guided missile frigate, some corvettes, patrol mine warfare ships, and some support vessels. They've really lost a lot of their naval capabilities because of losing the Crimea, and then the rest of their forces are actually bottled in the, I always say it wrong, the Azov Sea. So it's really a negligible force. Next up, at number 9, Poland. They've got a military budget of about $14 billion. The active military is 120 some thousand soldiers, with another 18,000 soldiers in reserves, for a total of 140 some thousand total forces. Their ground forces, which make up the bulk of their military, consist of 1 corps, 4 divisions. They've got 4 armored brigades, 8 mechanized infantry brigades, 3 armored cavalry brigades, 1 airborne and 1 air assault brigade, for a total of 17 combat maneuver brigades. I don't count their 21 security brigades, because they're really just security forces. They have 14 artillery brigades, 1 combat air brigade, 4 ADA brigades, for a total of 9 combat support brigades. They've got 3 engineer brigades, 2 seaburn brigades, 2 logistic brigades, for a total of 7 naval brigades. They've got 105 advanced tanks. They're Leo 2A5s. They've got 374 modern tanks, Leo 2A4, and the PT-91s, modified T-72s. They got another 127 capable tanks, T-72s, with another 227 of those T-72s in storage, for a total of 606 total tanks. Now, they have 1,600 infantry fighting vehicles, another 340 APCs, for a total of almost 2,000 armored vehicles. They got 420 self-propelled artillery, and another 197 multiple rocket launch systems, for a total of 616 indirect fire systems. Now, let me speak to their ground forces. They have really brought their forces up to NATO standard. They've done a lot of joint training, not only with the United States, but with NATO itself. They've modernized a lot of their equipment, and they're going to continue to. They feel as though they're the main Eastern bulwark for NATO, and they directly have increased the size of their military in response to improvements in the Russian military. They got 228 Mi-24 attack copters, and another 76 transportation helicopters. They got a total of 483 total ADA systems, almost split 50-50 between SAMs and guns. The naval forces, they've got 200 guided missile frigates, 1 covert, 3 large patrol ships, 22 mine warfare ships, and the rest is broken up between support and landing ship mediums, for a total of 51 minor warships. Now, as you can tell, the bulk of their naval forces are mine warfare ships. That's because they're in the Baltic, and part of their strategy is to defend their coast, and not only defend their coast, but to lay out mines and stop defeat Russian mines also, but basically to block in the Russian Baltic Navy. They've got 3 diesel-powered attack subs and 11 anti-submarine warfare helicopters. Their air fleet, like I said, they're trying to modernize it now. They've got plans in the future for a future advanced fighter. We know which one. They've got 48 F-16 Cs and Ds, 29 MiG-29s, both capable fighters, for a total of 77 fighters. They've got 18 ground attack fighters, Su-22s. They got 5 transportation planes and 10 maritime patrol planes that they use, like I said, to monitor the Russian Baltic Fleet. They've got plus 50 UAVs, mostly ISRs. Overall, they're improving not only the size of their military, but also the quality of the individual soldiers and equipment and training. Next on the list, at number 8, Greece. Greece, they only spend $500 billion, and they do have a lot of financial issues in Greece. So this kind of hampers their ability to modernize their forces. But because of issues with, once again, another NATO member, Turkey, they're gonna get the F-35. Why Turkey won't, for political reasons. They have an active military of 143,000 active soldiers, sailors, and airmen. They got 221 reserves for a total of 375 total forces. The ground forces consist of 2 corps headquarters, 1 logistical corps headquarters, 6 divisions, 1 logistical division headquarters, 4 armored brigades, 10 mechanized infantry brigades, 5 infantry brigades, 1 air mobile, 1 air assault, 1 marine, and 1 airborne brigade. They've got for a total of 23 combat maneuver brigades. They've got 1 combat air brigade. They've got 3 engineer brigades, 1 electronic warfare brigade, 3 logistical brigades. That gives them a total of 7 enabler brigades. They got 170 advanced tanks, Leo 2A6s. They got 183 modern tanks, Leo 2A4s. They've got 500 capable tanks, Leo 1s, and they've got 375 hopeless tanks, M48A5s, for a total of 1,200, almost 1,230 tanks. They've got 550 infantry fighting vehicles, another 2,400 armored personal carriers, or APCs, for a total of almost 3,000 armored vehicles. They've got almost 590 self-propelled artillery pieces, another almost 560 towed artillery pieces, almost 150 multiple launch systems, for almost 1,300 indirect fire systems. They have their military, their major warships, they've only got 13 guided missile frigates. Some of them are a little on the old side. They've got 5 corvettes, 24 large patrol ships, 4 mine warfare ships, 5 landing ship tanks, 25 support ships, for a total of 63 minor warships. They've got a nice, I shouldn't say naval size. They have a nice size attack sub force with 11 diesel powered attack subs. They've got 19 anti-submarine planes and helicopters. Their air and space forces consist of almost 200 capable fighters, which broke down 42 Mirage 2000s, another 154 F-16Cs and Ds. They also still have 34 poor planes in their F-4Es, but they're going to be getting rid of those guys, and they're going to be picking up F-35s, F-35As. They have a total of 230 total fighters. They've got another four aerial early warning planes, and another 23 transportation planes, all medium transportation planes at that. They've got 28 attack helicopters, mostly Apache 64A and Ds. They've got 60 scout helicopters, OH-58Ds. They've got 51 transportation helicopters, mostly heavy and medium. They've got another plus 50 UAVs, mostly ISRs. They got a total of almost 500 ADA systems. About 300 of them are SAMs, and almost 200 of guns. Like I said, their forces aren't the best, but they aren't the worst. And because of their continued border skirmishes with Turkey and with the improvement in the Turkish armed forces, Greece is definitely gonna try to improve their forces, but because of their economic issues, it's going to be hard for them to keep up with Turkey. Next up on the list, at number 7, speak of Turkey, and there you have they actually have the largest forces that are in Europe that's part of NATO, not counting the United States. They have 355 active soldier troops, and another 378 reserve troops, for a total of 733,000 total troops, broken up into 4 army headquarters, 9 corps headquarters, 4 division headquarters, 11 armored brigades, 10 infantry brigades, 19 mech infantry brigades, 1 marine brigade, 1 airborne brigade, for a total of 42 combat maneuver brigades. They've got 9 artillery brigades, a total of 6 enabler brigades. They've got a total tank force of almost 2,400 tanks. They've got 316 modern tanks, Leo 2A4s. They've got another 1,200 capable tanks, M60A3s and Leo 1s. They got about 100 core tanks, M60A1s. They've got 750 hopeless tanks. Those are their M48A5s with another 2,000 in storage. They've got a little bit over 1,000 infantry fighting vehicles, another 3,600 and some 8 armored personal carriers for a total of 4,350 armored vehicles. They've got almost 1,100 self-propelled artillery pieces, another 700, almost 800 towed artillery pieces, and another almost 150 multiple rocket launch systems for a total of 2,200 indirect fire systems. A very potent ground force. And they've gotten experience in Syria, and not just fighting terrorist organizations, but also fighting the Syrian military and supporting their proxy forces. They also have 86 attack helicopters and another 108 transportation helicopters. Their military budget is $15 billion. Like I said, not only are they more aggressive in the Middle East, but then they're also a little bit more aggressive in the Eastern Mediterranean. And as you can see, that military defense budget is 3 times that of Greece. Their air and space force consists of 260 capable planes, F-16Cs and Ds. They still have, for some reason, 19 poor fighters, the F-4Es. They were going to get F-35s, but because of some of their actions and some of the actions of the current U.S. administration, a combination of both, they will no longer be getting those. Instead, they're going to sell them to Greece. That's got to make them mad. They've got 10 ISR planes, 2 electronic warfare planes, 4 AEWC planes, 7 aerial tanker planes, 40 transportation planes. They got a total of over 1,500 ADA systems. They've got 2 ISR satellites. They've got plus 300 UAVs, CSIRs, and ISRs. And let me stop and talk about their UAVs. Part of NATO, and overall the Turkish military, they've really benefited from being a part of NATO. Not only were they able to acquire some good equipment, but they did a lot of joint training with a lot of different NATO countries. And then they did, because of different military operations in the Middle East, they gained a valuable experience working directly with the United States, and vice versa. The NATO countries learned a lot from Turkish, and they've benefit from using Turkish airspace and Turkish training maneuvers and joint training together, because you learn a lot when you train with different forces, and it shows. The Turkish military is just, and not only the Turkish military, but the people they train and the equipment they give out, the equipment and how to actually operate and manage that equipment they've given to Azerbaijan. I always say it wrong. How they just totally pasted the Armenians and smashed all that Russian equipment. It's telling. Same thing in Syria. Their proxies that are trained by them and used and work in conjunction with them have just been beating the tar off of the Syrian-backed, I shouldn't even say Syrian-backed, the Iranian-trained, Syrian-backed, Russian-equipped, Russian-trained proxies, including the Syrian forces. They've just been beating them all over the place. And then if you look at Libya, you see the same thing. Now that they started giving those guys training and equipment, and you've seen that the warlord in the east is now, his offense has been stalled. But let's get back to Turkey. Their naval forces, they've got 20 guided missile frigates. They actually are building some amphibious warfare ships. So they're definitely stepping up their military capabilities. Not only are they buying good equipment, but they also have indigenous a military industry complex, which is building a lot of their equipment. They've got 6 corvettes, 39 large patrol ships, 15 mine warfare ships, 5 landing ships, another 35 support ships, for a total of 100 minor warships. They've got 12 diesel-powered attack subs and 35 anti-submarine warfare helicopters and planes. Next up at number 6, Spain. Now, they spent about $13 billion for the size of the economy. Not very big. Their active military and their reserves only 135,000 total. The ground force, 1 army headquarters, 1 corps, 2 division headquarters, 6 mechanized infantry, 2 infantry, 1 airborne, 1 marine. They only have 10 total combat maneuver brigades, but they're well trained. They have 1 artillery brigade, 1 ADA, 1 combat air for a total of 3 combat support. They've got 4 total enabler brigades, 1 of each for engineer, electronic warfare, logistics, and a medical brigade. They've got 219 advanced tanks, Leo 2Es, 108 modern Leo 2 Leo 2 A4s. They've got 2 capable tanks. It's for the Marines. M60 A3s for a total of 329 tanks. Overall, they've got more than 1,200 total armored vehicles, broke up a little bit over 311 infantry fighting vehicle, and the remainder are armored personal carriers. They've got 102 self-propelled artillery pieces, 305 total artillery for a total of 400 and some indirect fire systems. The Air Force is pretty modern, pretty well trained. They got 68 modern Typhoon fighter jets, another 84 capable F-18 A and Bs. They're kind of old, but they have plans again of upgrading their fighter force for a total of 154 fighters. They got 12 ground attack fighters, which are going to replace their AV-88Bs. They've got 8 maritime patrol planes, 2 ISR planes, 3 electronic warfare planes, 5 area refueling tankers, 12 transport planes. They've got 21 attack copters, the Euro Tiger, another 82 transportation helicopters. They've got 2 communication and 1 ISR for a total of 3 satellites. They've got plus 50 UAV, CISR and ISR types. They've got another 23 anti-submarine warfare helicopters and planes. They've got a total of almost 110 ADA systems, about a 40-60 split SAMs to guns. Their naval force itself, it's not a huge force, but it's well organized to where it can be set up in a minor I shouldn't say minor, with a nice sized task force built around their landing helicopter dock, which is their flagship, the LHD. They've got 5 guided missile destroyers, modern. They've got 6 guided missile frigates, they're modern. They've got another 2 landing transportation docks. Like I said, this allows them to have the flexibility to fight conventional naval forces at sea, but also having the ability to conduct large amphibious warfare operations. They also have another 21 large patrol ships, 6 mine warfare ships, 31 support ships, for a total of 58 minor warships. Their sub force is underwhelming. It's somewhat modern, but they only have 3 diesel-powered attack subs. Overall, this is a well-equipped, well-trained force that could use some more love, though. They have some deficiencies. Next up at number 5, you have Italy. The Italians, and you see a big difference between their budget and the Spanish budget. The military is about the same size. The economy's about the same size. But the Spanish defense budget is $28 billion. Overall, they've got 180 some total forces when you count their active and reserve forces. They've got their ground forces consist of 1 corps headquarters, 3 division headquarters, 1 armored brigade, 5 mechanized infantry brigades, 1 cavalry brigade, 1 airborne, 2 infantry brigades, for a total, once again, of 10 combat maneuver brigades, same size as Spain's. They've got 3 combat support brigades made up of an artillery, an ADA, and a combat air brigade, which gives them a very well-balanced ground force. They've got a total of 5 enabler brigades, 1 of each, except for they have 2 logistic brigades. Everything else is 1 signal, 1 electronic warfare, 1 engineer brigade. They've got 200 modern tanks. They're C1 tanks. At some point, they're going to have to do a major upgrade or think about replacing this tank. They've got almost 700 infantry fighting vehicles, another 800 some APCs for 1,500 armored vehicles. They've got almost 70 self-propelled artillery, another almost 190 towed artillery because of the mountainous terrain of Italy itself. They got 22 multiple launch rocket systems for a total of almost 280 indirect fire systems. Like I said, this is a well-trained military force. It's actually budgeted fairly well, especially when you look at the difference with Spain. They build a lot of their own equipment. They do a lot of joint ventures, so they're very self-sufficient. They have the Air and Space Force consists of currently right now only 16 F-35A and Bs, but they're going to include another 93 modern Typhoons. So this is a very well equipped fighter force, and it's only going to get more equipped. They also have 48 ground attack Tornado and AV-8Bs. They've got 15 tornadoes that they use for electronic warfare. So this is a very capable force, not only in conventional modern air dominance, but also the ability to attack ground targets and the ability to use electronic warfare, because the type of plane they use can keep up with their fighters. They've got 6 maritime patrol planes, 1 Signet intelligence brigade plane, 1 aerial early warning and control plane, another 30 transportation planes, and 6 aerial fuel tanks. They have a total of 9 satellites, 4 communications, 1 ISR. They have plus 50 UAVs. They've got 52 SAM systems. They have a well-balanced, naval forces. They've got 2 older short takeoff and vertical landing aircraft carriers, CVSs. They've got 12 guided missile destroyers, modern. Another 5 guided missile frigates that are modern. They have 3 helicopter landing docks. They've got a good sized group of mine warfare ships, support ships, and patrol ships for a total of 76 minor war. They've got 51 anti-submarine warfare ships, and they have a decent size submarine force. Overall, this is not the largest force, but it's well trained. They've got good equipment, and like I said, they have an indigenous military industry that makes a lot of their equipment. They do a lot of joint training with NATO and the United States and other nations. Their forces can be task ordered for a lot of different missions and are well balanced. And they train as a combined armed force. They can do a little bit of everything. And in the structure of NATO, even though they don't have a super large military, they don't really need one. Coming in at number 4 is Germany. Now, the German military has had a lot of issues in the last 5 years. They finally realized their issues, and they're going to spend more money, and they're also going to ensure that the maintenance of their vehicles improve. They spent about $50 billion, which is an improvement. Overall, they've got 210,000 total troops, counting the active and reserves. Their ground forces consist of 2 corps headquarters, 3 division headquarters, 3 armored brigades, 3 mechanized brigades, 1 infantry, 1 airborne brigade, for a total of 8 combat maneuver brigades. Now, these just aren't the combat maneuver brigades. These are these are more like U.S. brigade combat teams, which means they have not only like their armored brigade, it not only has tanks and mechanized and some infantry soldiers, it also has field artillery, it also has battalion support, it also has engineer assets. So these guys are self-contained tactical maneuver forces. They've got 1 combat air brigade, 1 ADA brigade. They've got 245 advanced tanks, another 78 in storage. They've got 753 infantry fighting vehicles or assault vehicles, another 800 some APCs for almost 1,600 armored vehicles. They only have, but these are very advanced, 120 some self-propelled artillery, another 41 multiple launch rocket systems for a total 162 indirect fire systems. They've got 53 attack helicopters, another 143 transportation helicopters. They got 140 Typhoon modern fighters, and they're gonna buy some more fighters, whether it's Typhoons or the F-18, like people have been talking about, but it's likely going to be some more Typhoons. They've got 68 Tornado ground attack, another 20 electronic warfare jets, 4 area refueling tankers, 14 transportation planes. They got total 7 satellites, 2 for communications, and the remainder for ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. If you didn't know, sorry. They have plus 100 UAVs. They've got a total of 62 ADA systems with a balance of 50 SAMs, and the remainder are guns. The military is made basically for the Baltic, so they don't need like a huge amphibious or aircraft capabilities. It's made to blockade and defeat the Russian forces in the Baltic Sea. They've got 8 guided missile destroyers, DDGM-Hs. They're modern. Another 2 guided missile frigates that are modern. Another 5 guided missile frigates that are somewhat modern but could be upgraded, for a total of 15 major warships. They've got 6 diesel-powered attack subs, which is a fairly modern force with that. They've got 19 mine warfare ships, which they could use to blockade the Strait of Denmark. They got 22 support ships for a total of 41 minor warships. They've got 20 anti-submarine warfare helicopters and planes. Overall, they make a lot of their own equipment. Their forces are well trained. Once they get the maintenance issue down packed, this is a very powerful force. Now, people will say, when you rank forces, how do you rank them? I'll give you an example. I rank France higher than them. But if you look historically, if you look at the overall militaries in the 1800s, when France fought against the German Empire, again in World War I, and again in World War II, the German ground forces were slightly ranked, were better than the French. The air forces in each one of these were about a little bit better for the Germans, but the French Navy has always been better than the German Navy for the most part. And because of this, on paper, you pretty much would always rank the French military higher, just because the Germans really never really had a navy. But when you share a border with somebody and you don't really have to worry about the naval forces, does that really help you? And those 3 conflicts I named, Germany, if it was just Germany versus France, Germany beat them in 1860. I think it was 1869 or 1868, captured Napoleon III, forced him to surrender. In World War I, had the British. If it wasn't for the British forces, France by themselves would have lost. And even with the British forces, it was a tie. And with the United States, they barely beat them. That's World War II. In World War I, they just completely ran them over. Once again, the French Navy was way superior, but like I said, when you share a land border with somebody, Navy forces don't always help. But overall, I have to give France ranked higher than the Germans. Once again, the naval forces are their biggest weakness. Same thing with the UK. The German ground forces just as good, if not better than them also. And same thing with the Air Force, about the same. But the difference is they just don't really have a naval capability. They don't really need one. Germany's centrally located. There's a lot of U.S. and NATO capabilities in Germany itself, which helps the German force train and maneuver. Overall, this is still one of the best militaries in the world. Best trained, not the largest, but one of the best trained, best equipped. Next up, like I said, number 3 is, of course, France. The French military doesn't get the respect it needs, even though I just talked a little bit bad about it in comparisons to the Germans in the past. The French military is still one of the premier militaries in the world. They spend about $55 billion a year. They can do everything. They can go everywhere. They have a blue navy. They have an advanced air force. They have a well-trained ground forces. So let's start it off. They got 243 total military personnel. If you count the active and reserve forces, they've got 1 corps headquarters, 2 division headquarters, 2 armored brigades, 2 mech brigades, 1 infantry brigade, 1 airborne brigade, 1 marine brigade. And also, like the German and U.S. forces, these are really BCTs, which means each brigade is pretty much a fully self-sustainable force with all the combat support and enabled assets that it needs to function as a maneuver unit by itself. They've got a total of 7 combat maneuver brigades themselves. It's a well-balanced force between heavy and light. They have 1 combat air brigade. They've got 222 advanced tanks. They're Leclercs, which they're looking at upgrading or replacing. They've got They've got 1,400 infantry fighting vehicles and assault vehicles, another 2,300 APCs, for a total of almost 3,400 armored vehicles. They've got 134 total indirect fire systems, mostly self-propelled artillery pieces. They've got 66 attack helicopters, another 87 scout helicopters, for a total of 173. And they can arm their scout helicopters, so that's a lot of air combat ability right there. They've got 64 ADA SAM systems. They're naval forces, one of the largest and best equipped in the world, one of the best trained. They've got a nuclear powered aircraft carrier. The only country outside the United States that has one. They have 3 landing helicopter docks that they can use not only for amphibious warfare. They've got another 11 guided missile destroyers, all advanced, another 11 guided missile frigates, all advanced, for a total of 26 total major warships. And this once again gives them ability to create a fleet and just be able to task all their naval forces to fight conventionally, and also be able to fight amphibious warfare. They've got another 7 corvettes, 15 large patrol ships, 17 mine warfare ships, 35 support ships, for a total of 74 minor warships. They've got 5 nuclear-powered attack subs. These fairly modern ships, in the process of building new ones. They've got 48 anti-submarine helicopters and planes. They've got 7 total satellites, almost a 50-50 split between communication and ISR. They've got 249 total fighters. 142 of them are the very modern Rafales, which is a great fighter jet, which they make themselves. Another 107 very capable Mirage 2000, which is also a pretty decent fighter jet. So they got almost 250. They got 7 AEW aerial, well, I just call it what it is, an aerial early warning and control planes, 2 electronic intel planes, 17, which is a pretty nice size, 17 aerial fuel tankers. They've got 43 transportation heavy and medium planes. They've got plus 100 UAVs. Now, like I said, this is a well-trained force. They've got a lot of pride. They've got a rich history. They build almost everything themselves. Like any member of NATO, they've done extensive joint training with everybody else in NATO. They've got forces deployed in Africa. They've got forces deployed in the Caribbean, in the Pacific. The French military can do everything. They've got a very modern force. They're going to continue to have a modern force. These are one of the premier fighting forces in the world. They can deploy anywhere in the world. They can organize their forces to multiply a multitude of different tasks or for different mission sets. And like I said, they work within the structure of NATO. And like I said, their Navy, underrated. The only reason I have the British ranked high is because the British has 2 aircraft carriers to their 1. That's it. That's the only reason. If it wasn't for that, I'd probably have the French ranked higher than them. Next up, as you just heard, the United Kingdom. Like the French, they spend about $55 billion a year. They've got 262 total soldiers, troops. A ground force consists of 1 corps, 2 division headquarters, 3 mechanized, I should say armored infantry brigades, 6 infantry brigades, 1 air assault brigade, 1 marine brigade, for a total of 11 combat maneuver brigades. They got 2 combat support brigades, 1 artillery, one combat air brigade. Like the French and the U.S., once again, their brigades are really BCTs. They've got a lot of enabler brigades. They've got 4 logistics, 1 engineer, 1 medical, 1 ISR, 1 military intelligence, and 2 signal brigades. So that's a lot of great capability to support their forces. They've got 227 advanced tanks, the Challenger 2s, which they're looking to either upgrade or replace. It's a lot of talk going on, but we'll see. It's a pretty good tank. They just put some upgrades on it, it'll be all right. I mean, if people can be happy about a T90 and T72 just getting upgrades, then why is the same thing not true of a Challenger 2? I don't understand that. But okay, they've got about 1,100 armored vehicles split almost 50-50 between infantry fighting vehicles and APC. They've got 89 self-propelled artillery, another 126 total artillery, and 35 multiple launch rocket systems. Not only can fire rockets, but can also fire surface-to-surface missiles for a total of 250 indirect fire systems. Like I said, they've got 2 aircraft carriers, brand spanking new. Soon they're going to have enough F-35Bs flying off there. They're really going to have a powerful Navy. Well, it's already powerful, a more powerful Navy, I should say. They've got 3 very modern guided missile destroyers, another 3 perfectly capable guided missile destroyers, 13 modern or advanced guided missile frigates, 2 landing transportation docks, 3 dock landing ships. Like I said, for a total of 29, total of 29 major warships. This gives them the flexibility, like the French Navy, and even more flexibility to be able to fight as a force in actually 2 fleets, or 2 carrier strike groups, I should say, and also have an amphibious capability. So this allows them to be really flexible and do a lot. They have 5 large patrol ships, 13 mine warfare ships, 18 support ships, for a total of 36 minor warships. They've got 6 nuclear-powered attack subs. With their new attack sub that's replacing the old, this is a very modern force. They got 59 anti-submarine warfare helicopters and planes. The Air and Space Force consists of 18 currently advanced fighters, the F-35B. They're going to get a ton more, almost like 200 of them. They've got 144 Typhoons, which are still very modern fighters, for a total of 262 total fighters. They've got 9 ISR planes, 3 electronic intel planes, 4 aerial early warning control planes, 14 aerial tanker planes, good size, 42 transportation planes. They've got plus 100 UAVs and 280 SAM systems. Overall, this is a very advanced military. There's a lot of people in Britain who think, a lot of people everywhere, that doesn't understand how capable this force is. Once again, like the French forces, they can do everything. They're not super large, but it's well equipped. They build a lot of their own stuff, like the French and the German and the rest of the NATO members. They do a lot of joint training. Their forces, their leadership is well led. They've got a lot of forces that have fought in a lot of different theaters and do a lot of different training, so they're well trained. That's why they're the number 2 force in Europe. And of course, the number 1 force in Europe is Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Army Life Old Man Fat Boy Style. My references that I used, James Military Capability Modules. Check it out if you got that money, because it's expensive, but they update their thing every week pretty much, and monthly, every nation. They have different packages. Like I said, if you can afford it, get it. It's the best in the world. The International Institute for Strategic Studies Military Balance, I used it 2008, 2019, 2020. That 2021 about to come out. Just like the other ones, I ain't gonna pay for it because that's like the 2020. I don't know why I can't get it out. That thing still costs $611 for that one book. Not paying for it. I also use Stockholm International Peace Research Institute database. Once again, that's not free, but once again, I got it for free. Once again, thanks for watching. You guys have a great one. Next week, I'm either gonna do the Middle East or the Indian Pacific region. Comment on which one you want. You guys have a great one. See you guys in 2021.